we're gonna actually talk about how do we diagram that out so we can conceptually see those ideas. So we just have a couple questions to kind of get us thinking about it. Oh, none of you? Anybody have any extras in this? All spread out. I know I made the right amount of copies. You're all spread out. Okay. Got it? Everybody? Okay, so you're gonna take a minute. You're gonna take a minute and kind of read through some of those scenarios, or at least look at the titles of them, right? And these different situations, right, that we can analyze forces for. And then you're gonna rank, number one being your top interest, number two being the second one that sounds the most interesting to you, right? And then the third one, of course, the third down the line. And then there are a few things that, skills-wise, right, you may feel comfortable with or uncomfortable with, right, depending on how strong you are in there. Just list your strengths. It's just something to think about where you think you're strongest. So things like vectors, algebraic manipulations, like solving for x. Right. Finish up with your writing, or at least think to yourself as you finish. So what we're going to do, we're going to get our blood flowing a bit here. We are actually going to change our groupings, right, by moving to your scenario. So whatever you chose for number one, right, will let this be scenario number one. So come up here to the front table if you're scenario number two here. Scenario number three is your number one. Scenario number four is your number one. Scenario five, scenario six. Go ahead and take your stuff with you. All right. Find someone. Got your same interests. So don't worry, whatever group you end up in, you should be happy there because these people obviously have the same interests. So let's just start with the idea of a book on a table. Right? Something sitting on the table. And what forces are acting on this book? So in your folder, also now you'll see that there's cards, kind of flashcards that I never folded up, that will list out our forces, those common ones that we're going to deal with for now. Not every force in nature, but a good sample size. So we have all these forces. So what force can we say is acting on the book at the moment, just resting on a table? Wait.
I was making
Good. So weight down. I'll be lazy, just call it W. Y force up. Who's applying the force though? Table. I didn't know table was pushed. So we actually would call that force not the applied force because that would be an actual push or pull, but we would call that a reactionary force to the weight to hold it up that is perpendicular to the surface, and we call it the normal. So the normal is that perpendicular reactionary force, right? Because it depends on how heavy the book is, right? So the table doesn't just apply 20 newtons of force, right? Whatever I set down here, if I don't touch the table like hard enough, right? It just keeps throwing my hand back up. It applies too much force. I got to overcome the table's force, right? So we know it just reacts to my force, right? So my force on the table, it's reacting to that. So that's what we call it normal. It doesn't have a set value, it reacts. Okay. But what did we learn before? What did we learn about forces on objects? How do all forces act? Or where? Where do all forces act from? What does it say on? What do all forces act on? Like, so for an object, what is the part of the object that all forces act on? We did this? The center of mass. Good. Yeah. So they all act on the center of mass. So for this situation, we can redraw the situation. We don't have to be great artists because we know it doesn't matter what that book looks like. Right? If it's this book, if it's a stack of books, right? If it's a stack of books and a ball sitting on top, right? I know that it's all acting on some center of mass. And so we're going to redraw this as a point mass where the weight acts downward and the normal force acts upward. And this is what we call a free body diagram. Free body diagram. Right? Don't worry about the picture. We don't care about really the table either. Right? We just know that it's all acting on some center of mass. Why don't we just wrap this up? On the back side of your interest slip is our 3-2-1. That's kind of how we're going to close this out. Alright, the 3-2-1 is 3 things that you learned from this. Right, kind of lecture there, and a little bit of a demonstration. 2 things you found interesting about it. And then 1 thing that you still have a question about. So even though I've explained it, your partners have explained it, your partner was very convincing, but you still don't really believe it, right? That might be something you still have a question about. And then it can be anonymous, since I just want to know as a class. So you don't have to write your name on it. It's not for points or anything. It's just give you some feedback.